So I've had a lot of real estate conversations lately, and I think the image from, on Facebook and on social media is that I'm a baller, things are going great, I'm closing deals, it's money, and then the side conversations in the DMs is like, how am I going to make ends meet? Or the phone has stopped ringing, and I can't tell you how many conversations I've had like that. Like when the market shifted last year, I was joking about getting a job at Hot Dog on a Stick. But that joke doesn't play anymore because it's like, no, this is serious. Like there's some people who are going like, I need to find something. And so today, I promise this isn't a market beatdown. There's no sugarcoating. There are some stats that are like, they are sagging, okay? We're gonna talk about that, but I want you to walk away with some perspective. I want you to walk away with some ideas for how to focus business. There are deals happening in every single market, and that's what I want you to recognize today, okay? But I want you to pick up maybe 8 to 10 little stats for your newsletter, for your socials. Maybe you'll look at one thing and go, oh, I need to tell that to a seller. Or I need my buyer to recognize this one thing right now. And so are you guys ready? So we have on one side, if you're watching this show, are my people here, The Last of Us? Yes, such a good show. Sunday night, I'm like, yes, how is it going to end? That's the question. But we have the doom side, prepare for death. There's no hope. Pain is coming. It's sort of like when I share a stat about the spring market heating up, then someone on the doom side says, oh, just wait though. Just wait until this happens. And then on the other side, we have, the fall that was an absolute ice bath of a market, and we're turning into something else where it's getting hot in here. Sorry for the Nelly dad joke, but the market is legitimately heating up for the spring, okay? But we also have this whole thing where I think a lot of people are thinking it's 2021 all over again. We're having multiple offers, and what I want to do today is to dispel that myth. I want to show you what 2021 was like and what today is like. So we might be struggling with the battery, but we basically, here's what I want to say is that we're not in a market where it's Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt hot. It's more like Brad Pitt 2023 hot, okay? There's varying degrees of hotness, and it's not the same thing, okay? And I know that's not a perfect analogy because you're like, Brad is like fine wine. He's just gotten better through the years, and so maybe, pick your poison. But by a show of hands, how many people have noticed that mortgage rates went from 6% to 7% over the past month? Yeah, I know. In my DMs in January, there was so much hope and optimism, and people were like, we have bottomed, we're going up from here, everything is good, and then those messages completely disappeared, all right? But here's sort of where we're at, with rates. It's hard for the market right now to find balance when it's so all over the place, okay? The market wants balance, but that's very difficult to do when it feels like chaos. And here's what happens, if rates went down, the market feels a lot different. Okay, if rates go up, like some people are like, they're going to 8. And then other people say, no, they're going to go to 5.5 by June. Very few people get it right. Okay, does anyone remember someone who predicted that rates would be at 7% in February? No, because everyone and their mom was saying they would be down, and then they're not. Okay, so we got to watch this. But really, I would say we have to continue to take the Federal Reserve seriously, whether we like them or not. Here's Jerome Powell, the chair of Federal Reserve. He said, if, and I stress that no decision has been made on this, if the totality of the data were to indicate that faster tightening is warranted, we would be prepared to increase the pace of rate hikes. And so it's kind of like everyone's saying, well, the Federal Reserve's not going to increase rates more. They're starting to slow down, but then it's like, then yesterday comes this quote, oh, we're ready to bring it, and so we're just going to have to see what happens there. But in reality, there's 4 things. I would say modest rate changes won't alter the market, okay? We're dealing with some affordability stuff. It's going to take time to get buyers back. The market needs to figure out how to become more affordable, and the market's heating up for the spring. I think all those things are true right now at this very moment. All right, and so here's a live picture of buyers sitting out of the market. And let me show you a live picture of sellers sitting out of the market. Okay, see what I did there? We have a really unique moment right now where it feels like a poker game, and buyers and sellers are just sort of looking at each other with few people participating. And so, I think for a long time we were talking and saying buyers are stepping back, but now I'm going to show you some stats. Sellers are really stepping stepping back. So this visual right here, the gray bar is the month of January, new listings in the Sacramento region, 2013, 2023. Green is February. What do you notice about January and February this year compared to the past 10 years? Yeah, so we're missing actually about 2,000 listings from last year for just January and February, or 2,500 for the pre-pandemic market in just January and February. So the market feels a lot tighter than it should, but we're just not seeing the listings come, okay? And so here's a different way to look at it. From January to December, these are a bunch of years of new listings, and guess what year this is? 2023. Okay, we actually had fewer listings in February than January. That happens once in a while. It's not totally abnormal, but what we don't want to see is like that continue to go down. That wouldn't be a good thing. But this is the market that we're in, and so I think it's tough on the real estate side because there's fewer listings and fewer buyers, and there's no sugarcoating that. So, what would the market feel like if we had 2,000 more listings right now? Yeah, it would be sort of like buyers are getting major deals, right? And so, like I said, it makes it a lot tighter than it probably should be. Okay, but here's the issue. Affordability, this is from Redfin. Mortgage payments by the month are still up by 28% from last year. And so even though I think some people are tempted to look and go, this market is going to be super hot, when we look at affordability stats, we're like, no, people are struggling with affordability. And so that's what you want to share with your sellers. This isn't very optimistic for buyers maybe, but I think sellers need to go, there's a smaller pool of buyers and be realistic. In California, 18% of households can afford the median price, and 29% in Sacramento. You can see Sacramento is more affordable than California in blue. That's how it always is. Yay for us. Aren't we the best place to live? Isn't that what Forbes said? Yeah, that's right. That's right. What happened to that story? It was like viral until it wasn't. So, but here's, I think, some gloomy news, and we'll get into some other stuff. The reality is, mortgage rates have affected demand, and basically these are mortgage applications. And do you see what's happened lately? They've just really fallen off a cliff. They're basically at 2014 levels right now, okay? And so here's the trend. If affordability doesn't improve, we continue to see fewer mortgage applications, which leads to fewer pendings, which leads to fewer sales, okay? This is exactly what we want sellers to see. Okay, now, is it 2021 or not? Are you experiencing some hotness out in the market? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not trying to trap you. Are you seeing some hotness? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when we look at February, the percentage of sales, 24% sold above the original list price in the region, 65, almost 66% below, and then about 10% at. What stat stands out to you here? Below. I think sometimes we look and we're like, 24% sold above, oh my gosh. But then the bigger issue is that so many sold below, but part of it is just they were overpriced. I mean, they should be selling lower. But let me show you some context, because are we like 2022? Here's 2022 when we compare them. What do you notice? Yeah, so I think what's happening sometimes is that we're looking at multiple offers today going, this is so crazy, but not realizing that it's a fully different ballgame today, okay? And so very different market where basically this year, it's almost like they flip-flopped. Now, what about 2007? What do you think you're gonna see with 2007? 2007, about 80% sold below. About 10% sold above. 2007, the real difference, there were so many listings, and so it changed the dynamic. So I guess the takeaway is that, hey, we're not 2007 at least, right? Multiple offers over the past 2 weeks in the region. 52.1% of transactions of pendings have multiple offers, okay? This has gone up. It was in the 40s in January, and it shows that, yeah, the market's heating up. Sacramento, what do you notice in just Sacramento County? A little bit more competition, not a surprise because prices are lower in Sacramento compared to the region. Placer is a little bit lower, higher prices, okay? And so, but competition isn't dead, but these numbers aren't like 70%. 65% like they were in 2021 and 2022, okay? So I'm gonna, Matt will have a PDF, and then I want him to be able to share it with you later. I'm gonna add in a few other visuals. If you don't like this type of visual, I'm so sorry. I have a few for you, but I think this is a really cool visual. It's called a histogram. And what this is, the past 2 weeks of pendings by price range. And so you could see, this category right here, there are 190 pendings between 400 and 500,000. Okay, and so what do we see? The higher the price, the less pendings there are, because the bulk of the market is happening right here. And so what I want you to do in a market like today, when we're seeing diminished demand, I want you to ask yourself, where are buyers buying? What price ranges are they focusing on? Because how can you, knowing that, focus your business, okay? And when you look, here's the number of multiple offers. It looks very similar. It looks just like the previous graph. The highest percentage of multiple offers below 500,000, like not a shocker. Okay, we didn't need this graph to know that, but basically almost half of multiple offers are under 500,000. Okay, the most aggressive market. But look, there's multiple offers above $1 million. Here's 20 plus properties that had multiple offers. If they're priced right, you can get multiple offers on anything. And if you price 20% low, like that one, 38 offers, the market's crazy. Well, if you're priced at market value, you aren't getting 38 offers. Have you noticed? Yeah, and so I think it's a real strategy sometimes. But here's listings, and you go, what's on the market? And it looks very similar. There's not that much, but what I really want to show you is this graph compared to pendings, because this will underscore that there's some different dynamics in different price ranges. Okay, so these are actives in black. And then each price range here, and I swear I think this is the last one of these, but check this out. This is a 400 to 500,000. Actives are in black. What do you notice about pendings in blue? There's more pendings, right? There's more pendings in every little price bucket here until you get after 600,000. What do you notice? 600,000 above, there's more actives, fewer pendings. More actives, fewer pendings. And so it's no wonder that the market is more aggressive at lower prices, right? Half the market's fighting under 550,000 right now, okay? And so the advice that we give to people at the bottom half, to sellers, to buyers, might be different than the advice we give at the top half, right? And so do you like these visuals, or are they lame? Okay, I think they're cool. I've been experimenting with, I have some really weird stuff too, and I'll have to throw in some stuff there for you. But basically, has anyone else been listening to Miley Cyrus's Flowers song? I think my wife is probably like, hey, why do you like that song so much? Like, what's going on? My sense is that buyers today aren't going to put up with it, right? They're not in a habit of overpaying. They will for the right house. There are absolutely examples of buyers going 50,000 over, waiving contingencies. Okay, there was a house in Auburn that listed last month at 498,000, and it closes at 650,000. Right? We looked at that, we go, oh my gosh, the market's crazy. It was probably worth 650,000, right? You just priced low. But my sense is that it's not 2021 vibes with buyers. Would you concur, or am I off my rocker? Like, would you say that buyers are more sensitive, more picky?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. And so I feel like one of the things that's happening in real estate, it's like people maybe want to hold on to like the good old days, and we got to be careful of that, because you know who's listening are sellers. The last thing we want sellers to have are unrealistic expectations about the market, right? So it's really about the 4 Ds: death, disease, divorce, debt. You know, why are people moving? It's the lifestyle buyers. And just to ask you, why are people listing? Maybe it's been your own listings or people in your office. What are the reasons that you see right now? Retirement. Upsizing. Maybe downsizing.
Leaving the state.
Leaving California. I know. Another person? Hey, I know someone that came back to the state last month too, right? That's a thing. Yeah, maybe it's just, have you noticed first-time buyers? It's just time for them to buy. Their lifestyle is lining up with market conditions, okay? For a long time in real estate, it's all about prices. The market is sexy, it's hot, and that message all of a sudden doesn't work anymore, so the message is, Where do you want to live? Where do you want to do life? Who do you want to do life with? What is motivating you? A lot of people are sitting, and that's fine. Who is not, though, because there are a lot of people who are going to pull the trigger. I keep sharing this. I probably need to take it out of my presentation, but I love this tweet so much from Erin Stumpf. You can see when she says, there are many motivations that compel people to buy homes in any market. Currently, I have buyers that are wanting a yard for a dog, relocating for work, relocating for family, getting married, getting divorced, moving out of a parent's house, over apartment life. I think this underscores exactly where we're at right now. People are looking. I just DM'd with a mom who's trying to talk her 25-year-old son into buying, and I'm like, Mom, relax, as long as he is comfortable with that. But, the sense is that his lifestyle may be colliding with real estate, and that's just how it is, regardless of where prices are at. So let's jump into who is buying. I want to get some clues here. Okay, what stands out to you with this? These are sales so far, everything in the Sacramento region from January 2023. About 18% cash, 11% FHA, VA 5%, 62% conventional. Conventional is still the dominant force. That may change a little bit ahead, but who are you focusing your business on? Who are you talking to? And if conventional is the dominant force, and people are starting to get into credit card debt, like how do you speak to people and how do you partner with loan officers to help get people fiscally healthy? Okay, Sacramento County, what do you notice here? As I switch from the region to Sacramento County, we can see a little bit less cash and a little bit more FHA, right? How many investors are in Sacramento? Does anyone know? What percentage of all sales? Online, we'd be like, it's 85%, and it's, BlackRock, and yeah. About 21%, according to John Burns Real Estate Consulting. Okay, last year it was 25%, so you could see a little bit of a dip. I almost wonder if maybe it was the iBuyer model, a little bit less this year, but that's a good thing to know. Where are you going to focus your business? 20% of the market is, people buying non-owner occupied homes. 80% is people buying homes to live in. And so where are you going to focus your business, right? I think that's a cool stat. FHA has seen an increase so far in 2023. Okay, what's new about FHA that's going to unroll this month?
PMI reduced.
Okay, mortgage insurance got reduced. Now, it's not drastic, but on a $500,000 loan, it could be about $125 or so savings per month. Now, what's happening with conventional right now? Does anyone know what's happening with conventional loans? They're getting more expensive. It's almost like the market and the powers that be are trying to position first-time buyers for purchasing, okay? And so what I want you to watch and brush up on are FHA property standards for appraisals. Talk to your sellers if you're in an FHA price zone, because what'll happen is if conventional keeps getting more expensive and FHA has some advantages, we could see more FHA. Now look, it's only 11% of the regional market, so let's keep that in check. But in Sacramento County, almost 20% of all sales this year under $500,000 have been FHA. And so that's a bigger chunk because prices are lower. And so something to watch as you position your business, who are you going to focus on? I would say definitely what I would recommend is for you to speak the language of first-time buyers. Who people are excited about the market. They're not stressed out in a seminar like this going, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my bills? They're like, how can I participate in the market and speak to them, let them know, okay? I've been noticing a lot of people sharing this. Has anyone shared this yet? Absolutely, and you can see, Dream for All program, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity to look at different programs that come to the market that might help give people incentive to play the game, okay? We start seeing more stuff like this that can get more buyers off the sidelines, okay? Concessions, 49% of all transactions in Sacramento County last month had some form of a concession, okay? In Placer County, 43%. What kind of concessions are you seeing right now? Rate buy-downs? What's that?
Yeah, I was looking at comps last night, and there was a home that looked like it sold for $12,000 over list, but it was a $12,000.
That's always like the good switcheroo. Yeah, you're like, would it have sold for $800,000 without? Yeah, absolutely. Credits for repairs, anyone seen? Yeah.
I just had a big one. We got a $20,000 price reduction, a $16,000 credit for rate buy down,
and $6,000 in repairs.
The hat trick of concessions. That's awesome. And see, I feel like the market gets hot and then these stories disappear. And what I'd recommend, like, you don't want buyers to have false hope, especially they're under 500,000. It's tough. But like, I would love to hear more about stories like that. Here's what we got, because that's what buyers on the sidelines need to hear. Okay, so some buyers are hopeful, absolutely. And here's a cool stat. You can see that 62% of pending contracts, they listed in 2023. Buyers are devouring new stuff, okay? There's a lot of old stale stuff that they don't want, but look at this. 38% of properties that are pending right now, they listed in 2022. And so it's not just the new stuff that buyers are getting in contract over. Okay, my sense is that sometimes buyers are interested in older stuff, but it's overpriced, so they literally won't offer. Have you heard that sentiment at all? I've talked to buyers on Twitter, they're like, yeah, there's nothing on the market. I'm like, well, would you offer if some of the overpriced stuff got lower? And the answer is yes. Okay. And by the way, I never said, you can ask questions and stuff. Here I am just talking a bunch like a maniac. What do you notice here? How long is it taking to sell? Sacramento County, look at actives. Actives have been on the market an average of 70 days. Pendings over the past month, what do we notice? 42. Closed sales in February that got into contract probably January. So do we see the market heating up by the county? The pendings are starting to go a whole lot sooner. Last year, though, these numbers would have been like chopped in half at least, though, right? And so, but it's interesting that, what a disparity, though, between actives and then the stuff that's moving. Actives have basically been on the market for about 1 month longer than stuff that's getting into contract. And so it's sort of like, you got to listen to the market and you got to tell your sellers you want to be an active, not a pending. But here's a cool way to see days on market. It says days on market in Sacramento County from 2016 onward. Okay, and every black number here is February. And what do you notice about this February? 51 days. Look at last February. Like the insanity of it, right? But a normal February should be somewhere right around here, right? So the last 2 years were just bananas. And so we're just not in that market anymore, but we're a little bit above normal. Here's a cool way to see it. Here's a different way to look at it. So this line right here, this red line, is the average, a 4-year average, okay, from January to December. Okay, in February, the average is 44 days, and then we're at 51, so we're a little bit above average. But what should happen? This line should start to go down in a normal year, and then around summer, it starts to take longer to sell. Okay, so we'll see what happens ahead. I think we could have some weird stats if we see properties that are, 8% rates or something crazy like that. And so we'll have to watch this, but something to watch. Now, here's some cool stats though, because the market is actually starting to move pretty fast. In the fall, things were so slow. It was that Peyton Manning in an ice bath market, and it really is heating up. So here are pendings over the past 2 weeks. And over the past 2 weeks, about 20% of these pendings got into contract basically the first weekend, sort of list on Thursday, you're in contract on Monday or Tuesday vibes, all right? 42% got into contract within 10 days, okay? Basically, half of the pendings over the past 2 weeks were on the market for 15 days or less. And that was not what it felt like in November and December, right? And so it's a much different market. And so watch the pendings. That's what I do as an appraiser. What's happening in the pendings, that shows me what the market's willing to pay. It shows me where people are going. So is that cool? Do you guys like that? Okay, I'd like to see that. 34.2% of pendings had a price reduction before getting into contract. So it's proof that price reductions work, and this is exactly what you want sellers to see. Now, does anyone have an overpriced listing right now? Yeah? Just one person? Come on. Everyone else is like, well, I don't have any listings. Yeah, yeah, the struggle. So here's a way to see, like, how much do you have to reduce the price? Now, this visual is a hot mess, but I just want you to check this out. These are all pendings, and I'm sorry, I believe it's the last 2 weeks. I didn't note it down here, my bad. But you can see here's the price range down here, and here's how much the price was reduced by percentage. And so look at $500,000. These are all properties around $500,000 that needed a price reduction. Right, and so I think the tendency is to be like, man, everything under 500 is going. No, it's not true. I had an agent say, feel like she's going to lose the listing because the owner is stubborn at 500,000, and the comps are at 450,000. Not a problem in 2021, right? Because people are like, oh, no problem, I'll just offer 10% more. That might not happen today. And so I just want to show that there's price reductions at literally every single price range, because the market is sensitive. Okay, it's not going to pay anything. All right. So be a pending, not an active. I always recommend, get this tattoo. It would be a killer real estate tattoo. You'll go viral. You might not be able to get a date afterwards, but you will go viral. Okay. Trends. Single women in the U.S. own more homes than single men. Study finds. Yeah, girl power. There you go. I know guys, be careful with your marketing on this. You could look like a real creeper, depending on how you're like, hey, ladies. Actually, that might be a fair housing violation if you're targeting a gender. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But here's an interesting study. This week, did anyone read this in The Atlantic? I don't know what's going on in The Atlantic, but they've had some amazing articles lately. It says demographers realized that after U.S. fertility had fallen to all-time lows, Americans were having more babies. Nobody knew for sure why. Remote work is a culprit. So people are apparently doing business for the office and other types of business. But on a serious note, you look at stuff like this, and sometimes it's total junk stats. I get that, but this guy is actually a legit statistician right here. But you look and go, how might this influence my client base? And who moved somewhere and then they're being called back to the office now, or they moved to Texas and they never told their office in California. Now, like that. I've heard stories like that. It's crazy. But who is having babies because of all the business and they need a bigger house? Or they're renting, and so just think about household formation. I think it's something to watch. This is a story from a news channel in Boise, and it says, according to a study, the top 5 states that Idahoans are moving to are Washington, Utah, Oregon, California, Arizona. Right? These are actually older stats from 2019 or 2020. Most of the time, migration stats are really crusty, but it was interesting because we wouldn't expect to see California on there, right? Because the narrative is that everyone is moving away and no one's moving here. But I want to say, pay attention to people who are moving from other states that are near us. We don't get a lot of people from Rhode Island, but in neighboring states, you can't deny the sunshine. So this is from LinkedIn, fresh stats as of this month. You can see Sacramento, people who transferred their membership from LinkedIn membership from San Francisco. Sacramento is number 2 on their list. Number 1 is Austin. They publish this, every month, and it's fascinating to look at. Now, we don't have intense Bay Area migration, but I just wanted to show, even up until last month, there are LinkedIn members who are transferring their LinkedIn membership from the Bay Area to here. Okay, this is not the trend to hype up now. I think it got way overblown over the past few years. Like, everyone's from the Bay Area. Like, okay, no, they weren't, but there were a lot more, and it's just not the vibe right now. But I want you to pay attention to who is coming to the market, because that might influence your marketing. Then I said right here, this is a name I'd want you to jot down. His name's Patrick Carlisle. He's the lead housing analyst for Compass, okay? And he puts out fantastic Bay Area stats on LinkedIn. You can follow him on LinkedIn without having to friend him or whatever it's called on LinkedIn. But I mention this because I encourage you to pay attention to other markets where if people are typing in Sacramento from an area like this, or people are actually moving for work, then that's a clue. Know what the market's doing there, because that might influence here. Have you heard a lot of tech companies laying people off? Yeah, and so it seems like the Fed is trying to, slow down the economy. The tech sector is getting destroyed, but everyone else is like, no, man, we're doing great. But what I want us to watch locally is that let's watch all this stuff. We definitely have technology here, but we're a government town, okay? And I haven't heard any inklings towards, furloughs or anything like that. But what we want to watch, if we start to see economic pain and start to see, government jobs in jeopardy or asking employees to take, time off, like that's a clue for there might be people who need help because of economic pain, whether that's selling and then, deploying their, early retirement to Idaho, or whether, whatever they would be doing with a home, okay? So something to watch. The California Policy Lab shows over the past couple of years, only through 2021, there were 1.9 million people who exited California, okay? Do you know how many people came into California during that time? 1.4 million, okay? You know what narrative gets the most attention? People exiting the state. It's a sexier narrative, right? I think a lot of data scientists are saying, hey, we've maybe blown this out of proportion a little bit. No joke though, more people leaving, that's the trend. But what we want to watch for, hopefully, is, COVID protocol isn't as strict as it was during these years. We saw a dip in people moving to the state. And so hopefully we see, a little bit of an increase there. And hopefully this line up here, it'd be nice if not, if we didn't have all our family members leaving, right? So anyone else have family leave? I swear my parents are happy in Idaho, but I'm like, what's your problem? When you look at the top 10 states that are growing in population, does anything surprise you here?
No taxes.
Yeah, I mean, taxes might be part of the issue. Yeah, these are the people. These are the places where people are leaving and going to. And I would just recommend pay attention to this stuff in your book of business. Don't be that person on that only talks about leaving California. We don't want you to be that person, but I think that there's something to be said for this. Okay, this is a really cool visual. I include the link here when you get the PDF. Definitely bookmark this. But what it shows is in the Sacramento region. Just the Sacramento region. Here's credit card delinquencies in red, okay, from the year, it looks like 2006. And you can see a little bit of a spike lately, right? And mortgage delinquencies, a tiny, tiny spike. Okay, and so we're not in this massive mortgage trouble, but what we want to watch are how are people doing financially, okay? Here's the struggle in real estate. If prices continue to go down and there's an optimal time to buy eventually, that's wonderful. But if people are in financially bad shape, guess who can't buy? 2012 was an awesome time to buy. Does anyone know what the median price was? $160,000. That meant literally half the sales in the market in Sacramento County were lower. Great time to buy, but so many people had a foreclosure or a short sale on their record, they literally couldn't participate. And so just because it's a good time doesn't mean you're ready. And so I think today's market is a time for how do you encourage clients to be fiscally smart. So now here's some cool stuff. I just pulled this today. Does anyone have a short sale listing? Okay, probably not because there's like 20 in the whole region. Tiny pond, okay? If you never changed your website from 2009, perfect, because it can say short sale specialist still, that's fine. If you don't know what a short sale is, do some research. It's not like a sale to short people. Sorry, it's a dad joke. But here are the reasons for all the short sales right now in the region. And I find that there's an investor who bought some properties. They have, I think, 5 or 6 of these that they bought in 2021, 2022, and fell into financial ruin. So they have their listings, but you have a lot of reverse mortgages. Now, these are designed to go into foreclosure. There's not a problem with reverse mortgages. Okay, that's a natural. We should see short sales and foreclosures for those. That's how it's supposed to go. But look at this. Owner bought in 2019. Owner bought in 2022, 2022. Owner bought in 2021. And so you have all these different reasons, but what I started noticing in the fall was that we started to see a few short sales with people who bought earlier in 2022, and now what I'm seeing is that it's not just 2022, but people are in a negative equity position, some who bought in 2021. Okay, does that make sense? Tiny sliver of the market, but if you're thinking about business and where to focus your business and at least something to pay attention to, I think that this is really important. Is that cool? I feel like it's like, I took some time, I looked at each of them, I just think it's fantastic. And then here's this person, an unknown situation, but they have a solar lease, go figure. So foreclosures or delinquency rates nationally, I mean, we don't have an issue, okay? This will probably go up if we experience economic pain, but we don't have sort of this foreclosureville USA. It's not that vibe right now in the stats, right? Now, who has seen this from Redfin though? Redfin's been pushing this out for about the past 6 months. Sacramento is the top destination for people searching online. Have you seen that? Okay, yeah, for about the past 6 months, we're actually number 2 on the list recently, so we're slipping apparently. Redfin is saying that top inbound metros, and then the media picks up on it and says, despite US real estate marketing cooling, Sacramento remains a top destination for home buyers, okay? What's the problem with these stats? Does anyone know? They're not actually buyers. These are people, it's really cool research. These are people who are searching in other markets on the website and targeting Sacramento. Okay, they're not actually buying a house. Now, they might be buyers. I have a friend who sat on the board at Trulia. We don't hear much about them anymore, but their sense was that these turn into buyers in maybe 2 years or so. Okay, I don't know if that's accurate here or not, but the danger is when we look at these stats though and automatically say that they're buyers, and there's a problem with that. And I want to show you what I mean, because let's get into the sales. So people might look at this story and say, bro, the market is so hot. Or if my teenagers say, bruh, but then they would cringe. They're like, Dad, did you just say that? Yes, I did. So here's June, the month of June in 2022 compared to every other year. I want you to pay attention to this line, and there's 2007. So there's June, July, August. What do we notice the line? September. October, what's going on with the line? How close are we getting to 2007? Remember, we're the hottest market, man. Redfin just said, and then November, whoa, coldest market ever. December, lowest volume ever. January, whoa, we were low in January. February, do you notice a pattern? So basically, this is sort of like the, oh no, for the last 4 months in a row, we've seen the worst volume we've ever had, right? And so I find it ironic that then there's that narrative that we're the hottest market, the #1 destination. It just feels out of sync. But here's what I want us to look at. What's happening with volume as you think about your business? In Sacramento County, the past 90 days this year compared to last year, we're missing about 41% of the market. It differs by area. Placer's not as down as much, but we're basically missing about 40% of the market, okay? Now, let me show you this though. Now here, instead of percentages, we're missing about 2,200 sales just over the past 90 days this year, okay? And it varies by county. Sacramento's our largest county. So maybe, where you focus your business, if you're just Placer, like there's a lot more fish here. But look at this. Here's a number right here. 3,331 people bought homes this year in the region over the past 90 days. So it's kind of a mindset thing. We can focus on this, or we can focus on the deals that are happening, okay? And so when people online say that there's no one buying, I think this is a great stat to share. Yeah, there's not 5,500 people buying, but there were 3,300, right? Very true. So basically 40% of the market is missing and 60% of the market's happening. And so you get to choose where you're going to focus your attention. Are you going to focus on what's missing, or are you going to focus on the part of the market that's happening and work hard to be a part of that? Does that make sense? So, oh gosh, here's another one of those graphs. There's just 2 more. So when you think about your book of business, though, we ask, like, what is it that's selling? And this is kind of a funky graph, but the green bars are last year by price range. Okay, just basically the past 70 days this year compared to the same time last year. So January to early March. And then the black bars are this year. And what do you notice about the black bars in almost every category? Yeah, they're lower. Yeah, so it's sort of all ships rise and fall with the tide. The market has, not left any price range untouched. Okay, but here's what I want to show you. The black right here, what we've seen prices go down, and what's going to happen is that these deals are being pushed to lower prices. And so what we're going to see over time, if prices continue to go down, we'll see, this, keep rising up. And here's a different way to look at it. With just the change, there are actually 6 more properties this year that sold, under 300,000. And that market hardly exists. But I think what we're going to see, we could very easily see a graph like this bucket all of a sudden being up. And so as we push the market lower, and as FHA financing, and there's first-time buyer programs, we could start to see more deals happening at lower price ranges. Okay, does that make sense? And so as you think about your book of business, speak the language of first-time buyers. Okay, so true or false, sales volume is low because we don't have enough listings. True? False? What do you think?
We also don't have as many buyers, so there's both sides.
Okay, yeah.
More listings or be more buyers because there's not enough listings.
I think affordability, it's interest rates.
So I would think, there's multiple layers here. We could definitely use more listings. Did you know that technically we actually have more active listings this year than last year? Does that surprise you?
Sitting on the market.
Because they're sitting on the market. But last year we hardly had anything. But you know why we are struggling with volume? Because of affordability. Yeah, we can't just, it's easy to look at it and just be like, it's just because of low listings. No, it's because buyers are looking and going, man, I can't afford $3,500 for this mortgage when my rent is, $2,800 on the same house. Have you noticed that lately? That rent is actually cheaper in a lot of cases. And so that's why my vote is for, let's just see prices come down. I don't get to make the rules, but that would be such a good thing because we need the market to become in sync. It's a problem when rents are it's more affordable to rent than buy. Okay, so what happens in a market if we can see prices go down and it becomes more affordable to buy at some point, guess what happens to renters? They jump in the market, all right? So buy OfferPad, did anyone hear that OfferPad left? Yeah, Redfin, OfferPad was an iBuyer. Redfin has 1 iBuyer listing left. It's pending right now. Zillow sold their last one. Basically, iBuyers are a very small sliver of the market. They are 2.7%. Okay, for as much attention as this model gets, I know someone just said yay. 97% of the market is the traditional model. And so, but what's interesting is that Open Door used to own 300 to 330 properties. Now they own about 120. And so they've cut way back. And so will they survive? I mean, we'll see what happens. One thing I'll say is this, though. I think on the way up, everyone was looking at companies like Open Door and being like, oh, this company is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then the market slows. They're like, hey, are you hiring? And so I would say pay attention to other ways that you can use your real estate license. There are tech companies. There's one called Build Casa. I have no idea if they're hiring or not, but they're looking at SB9. And what they do locally, they're in Sacramento. And what they're doing is that they're identifying lots that can be split under California's SB9 rule and to build a duplex or to build a single family home on the remainder of the lot. And they're trying to help owners do that. And so doesn't that sound like something that a real estate agent, a real estate professional could assist with? Or when you think about, I just talked with a realtor who's working as a right-of-way specialist now and who is fully licensed and who's working with governmental agencies on eminent domain issues where they need a real estate professional to help facilitate a transaction. And so there's a lot of ways in tech companies and different things where you can bring tremendous value to the market. It's just when the traditional market sort of diminishes, I think it's okay to kind of look and dabble in other things. Property management is also a fantastic tool, but man, it's not for the faint of heart. Be really careful. But what does the future look like? So here are pendings, and you can see, look, we're seeing an increase in the number of pendings. Actually, I think I left out a slide maybe. We're seeing an increase in the number of pendings this year so far. We're seeing a seasonal uptick. The market is heating up, but what do you notice? It's way lower. Okay, so that's why I say that the market is heating up, but it also feels somewhat frozen. All right, but here's Redfin data. If you don't have this link, I highly recommend bookmarking it. And here are pendings in the Sacramento region, and you can kind of see the last couple weeks, they've gone a little bit horizontal. What we don't want to see is to see this, kind of flatten out. Okay, but right now it's been a seasonal uptick, still subdued, still missing about 40%. Okay, here are listings in 2023 in the Sacramento region. What do we notice? There's been an uptick. The market is heating up. Right now is the time to seize real estate. It is the hot season. Okay, but it's still subdued. Okay, so my mortgage rate is 2.5%. Okay. I shared this and it was like, it got a lot of attention. My favorite comment was someone in the thread who said, I'm just a peasant with a 3.8% rate. I was like, yes, you are. Yeah. But this is sort of the dilemma in today's market. You remember when mortgage rates were at 2.5% and it felt so good? It was like, this is so awesome. And then now we're dealing with the consequences of that where people are like, I'm not selling, right? And so, we've just scraped the surface at understanding what this means. But really, here's new listings in the region since 2018. And new listings are in blue each year. Ever since rates went below 3%, we're missing all this supply. Okay? And look how low we are right now. We're just starting out at a very low portion. And so for right now, get used to less listings as a norm until, hopefully that changes at some point. So I'd say this, and anyone know where this is from, by the way?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Breaking Bad. Was he in Better Call Saul also? I can't remember. Yes, okay, thank you for the confirmation. So affordability can help change listings coming to the market. It's not just buyers who need affordability. Sellers need a place to afford if they sell their home. Okay, economic pain can increase listings, REOs, short sales, lifestyle. It's all lifestyle right now, but we're in this holding period, and it's going to be really interesting to watch, what's going to happen. But I'll say this, we don't need a lot of listings to see prices decline. I wish we had, 2,000 more right now, because I think that would be so healthy for the market to have more downward pressure and just, get through this time in order to see, the market heal. But I'll say this, expectations, new listings are going to increase. I'd say hopefully they're still increasing right now. It's going to take less time to sell. It can get tight if sellers keep sitting and it can create this really interesting dynamic. We're going to see a spring uptick in volume, maybe prices too. Volume will be subdued. Mortgage rates, going down can change things. And I'd say there's still downward pressure on prices. Okay, and I kind of want to unpack that. Now check out this black line. These are the number of closed sales each week in the region. What do we notice is happening in 2023? There's deals that are happening. It's still lower, but there are absolutely deals that are happening, okay? Now, what do you notice about this? 2005 through 2008, this is the number of monthly sales. And do you see what happened? Sales volume fell off a cliff for a couple years before it came back. Does this kind of feel like where we're at right now? Yeah. It's been almost a year, though, since we've been in this market, so that's a good thing. We're getting there eventually, but it's sort of like I shared this graph, then someone said, okay, so I just need to be able to hold on. I don't know if it's 2 years or longer. I mean, we'll see what happens. We have a weird dynamic right now with listings, like how long will people hold, and how long can you be in that poker game without playing your hand? And we're going to find out. Okay, but here's the good news, is that each year, these dark bars are January through June each year. These were some of the worst years in Sacramento history, but do you see how there was an uptick in sales those years? The spring market came alive even in down years, and that is exactly what's happening right now. The spring market is alive, so take advantage of that, all right? Now, when we're looking, sorry, my clicker's not working like I want it to. Now, let me ask you this. What is happening with prices when you're pulling comps? Are they going up? Is it a spring bump? Are they going down? Are they sideways? Like, I'd love to hear real quick, what are you seeing in the trenches when you're pulling comps for clients? Okay, it's just me talking.
There seems to be a little bit of a bump lately, the last month maybe, compared to if you were looking 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, it does feel like a different vibe, like not, September, October, November, when everything was just, free fall. Yeah, absolutely. So.
It doesn't seem like you have to plan ahead and price below the last one any longer.
Yeah, I actually concur. That's kind of what I'm seeing too. It seems like in a lot of places, and it could be different by the neighborhood, but it seems like, screaming down and then sort of flattening out and trying to figure out whether you're going to bump up or not. But here's when we look at prices. when you look at February this year versus last year, we're down about 8% or so. Okay, this is a great stat to share with some clients probably, but really the real trend, May to current, we're down 12 to 15% based on the stat. And I just want to look at both of these stats. The market really changed here. It's almost like if we just look at this, we're not really getting the full picture. But if we're kind of looking at stats, the median price is down about $80,000. Now, I pulled comps in Folsom the other day. It wasn't quite 80,000 in this neighborhood, but it was more like 60, 65,000. It could be down 100,000. It could be down 50,000. It's going to depend on the neighborhood. Okay, this doesn't translate rigidly to every single price range. All right, but here's a look at the median since the pandemic in the region. Like very quick growth up, very quick down. But what do we see happening? It's kind of like what Doug said, a little bit of a bump, right? Kind of spring seasonality. All right, but here's something that's interesting because people might be like, the market's recovering, we're seeing this bump. But let me show you what normally happens. This is a change over the last 20 years, the median price change between January and February. Every single year, even in the worst years, the median price goes up. Isn't that crazy that you can have the spring market, like in 2007, 2008, the market is tanking, but there's a little bit of a bump in the spring. So what does that show us? It shows us that seasonality is a real thing in real estate, and it's just time to take advantage of that, okay? So I think we're absolutely seeing a little bit of a bump. Sacramento County, there's been a little bit of a bump lately. Now the pendings could be a lot softer now, okay? These are like, the properties that closed this month, 6% mortgage rates. We'll see where things close over the next couple of months. Here's Placer County. Placer gets weird. It's like all flat top-ish here and a little bit of a bump lately. But here's Sacramento County from 2012. Do you see this massive growth for 9 years? And then what the heck happened there? And then down, right? And so the question is, you have all this equity. What can you do with it? That's the hard part right now because a lot of people are like, I would do something, but I can't afford. But brainstorm, get creative, help people figure out their options, all right? Here's Placer County. When you look at Placer, a similar dynamic, way up. It's almost like the growth here almost equaled 9 years. I mean, just nuts, right? Does anyone look at this and go, "God, that was so healthy. That's so wonderful." So here's to use this meme. Have you seen this meme? I feel like this is what pulling comps is like right now. The more you find out, the more. And so you just have to experiment in today's market, where you're like, what's it going to sell for? Well, it looks like this, and we might have to test it a little bit. I just think this is the perfect meme. Or is that just me? So. And then I think this is the last thing that I want to give some tips for what to look for ahead. So if it can't sell for what I want, I'll rent it. Okay? Has anyone heard that from a seller? Yeah. This is a thing. What's interesting is that it sort of, the property managers I've been talking to, they've been getting an influx of new inventory. One property manager who has nearly 1,000 doors, like this isn't, your 30-door person, had about a 20% increase in business in 2022. It's been a very good year for property managers. Okay, and that's why I was saying, like, you might want to talk to some people who are really growing. If you're struggling, maybe there's a position for you in their business. But that's a dynamic of where some people will say, maybe I'll just rent my house. And so what I want to recommend for you is build relationships with property managers, get referrals from them. Some of them will say, here's a $500 referral. I mean, you might as well get paid if your listing doesn't sell. Okay, and there's some property managers who will also keep your name on file and then call you when the person wants to sell too. And so, just a heads up, if you want to, I have a link where I talk about the rent trend though. Rents have been dropping also. It's not just a home prices thing. Okay, they haven't, cratered, but it's a very similar dynamic with rents right now. Okay, so you can't control the market, but you can control your mindset. That's the only thing that matters. However long this storm ahead lasts, the only thing that matters is how is my mindset going to be? How can I take, bless you, how can I take a positive mindset into this, no matter what it looks like? All right, so sometimes unexpected things happen, okay? My son is 19 years old, my oldest, and I think he was maybe the Kings had a winning record when he was, in his diapers the first year. Like, it's been a long time. I don't think anyone saw this coming, okay? And I don't think anyone saw, real estate coming like this too. But it's just a good reminder that we can't control what happens, but we can control our mindset. And the last thing that I want to show, this sounds totally pervy, but I want you to look for two bottoms, okay? And here's what I mean. And if I could just really, really have your attention here, I think this is some smart stuff, and I want you to look at, here's what happened last time to prices. There was a price and a volume top and bottom. Okay, so here are prices in black in 2005, August 2005, prices peak, and it took technically about 6 years for prices to fully decline. It's not uncommon to see prices decline for 5 to 6 years. Who knows what will happen ahead? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? 4? I mean, who knows? We'll see. But it almost declined all the way in about 3 years, and then there was a very modest change afterwards. And so here was the price top, the price bottom, but I want you to look, here was the volume top. It happened before prices topped out. And then look, it took about 2 years for volume to bottom out. But guess what wasn't done? Prices still declined, but volume had hit the bottom. That's the most important thing in real estate right now. You want volume to bottom out so there's more transactions. Prices can still go down, that's fine, but if we can get more affordability, then there's more volume for everyone, okay? And so what I want you to look for are both bottoms, and I'll be looking at stats every single month and going, okay, when are we going to start to see volume tick up just a little bit? Doug?
The one problem with that is we're in a totally different dynamic. Hardly anyone had any equity at that time. We had a very unusual market, and so it's hard to know whether it will replicate something similar to that because we'll have a way different dynamic, a lot of equity in homes.
Yeah, I mean, and fair enough, but we have a real problem with affordability right now, and to get those buyers back, to get volume to increase again, something has to change with rates, with financing, or with prices, or all of the above. And so, totally different market. We have this weird thing going on with not enough listings coming to the market. Very, very strange, very unlike then, but there will be at some point a bottom for volume and a bottom for prices. I do think still though that the bottom for volume will come before the bottom for prices. And here's Placer County. It looks very similar. Placer County though kind of went down, and it kind of stabilized a little bit there, but still went down a little bit more than Sacramento County. And so again, the volume bottom happened first, and then the price bottom. Okay, so let's look at both. I think everyone's really hungry for the market to turn around. I just feel like we're in the thick of struggling with affordability. There was a loan officer the other day on Twitter who was like, just raise rates to 8%, let's get this over with, right? I don't know if that's the answer or not, but at some point, what we want to do is we need more affordability to see these things happen, okay? And I'm not sure that's going to happen if, we go down to 5% rates right away. Like, I'm not sure that's going to be healthiest long term. So, and words of Maury Povich, the results are in. The market is going to keep changing, okay? And I just say some closing unsolicited advice, be patient. We need time to see the trend, know what normal looks like so you can spot abnormal each and every month. Like, you get it is normal for the prices to tick up even during downward years, okay? Don't get high on housing hope, okay? I want you to be realistic, okay? Have a realistic narrative of the market, okay? I'd say plan for the worst and rejoice if something else happens, okay? You would never hear this at a Tony Robbins conference, okay? Because they're like, walk on those fire coals, and I get that. That's awesome, okay? But I would just say, plan on the worst possible thing happening, be totally optimistic in life, and then if something else happens, bonus. I think that's a good way to look at it. Maybe that's just my, safety mechanism, I don't know. Build your network and keep feeding your network, okay? It's a market of where you get a lot of no's before you get a yes. You have to keep adding people into your network. Don't stop going out with people. Don't stop, passing out your card. I know a 21-year-old in Placer County who's doing amazing business, and I can't believe it because he's so young, but you know what he's not afraid of? He's not afraid of asking for people for their business. And he's not afraid of hearing no. Okay, and I think a lot of people are more just focused on social media and they're not actually interacting with others and asking people for their business. Okay, very powerful. Strategize for how to succeed in the down market. If you haven't written your Dear Downturn letter yet, what are you waiting for? Get strategic. How, Dear Downturn, and how are you going to navigate this time? Whether we decline for years ahead or it's momentary, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters do we have a plan? I'd say be a stat sniper instead of a shotgun. Okay, I provided a lot of stuff. I'm going to actually pad this when I send it to Matt with some other cool stuff. I have a lot of market recap images for February. Like, I want you to share some of that stuff. Create a reel, on Instagram, or take one stat and share it with the seller, like in your social presence. But don't blast everyone. Take your mental health seriously. Okay, this is a wild ride of a market. Please take care of yourself, though. Obsess over every escrow. Why did the seller sell? Why did the buyer buy? Okay, and I actually asked Amber earlier today. I said, I saw you on Facebook, you were talking about in the comments about a couple deals, and why did that buyer buy? And it was so interesting because she said they moved from Woodlake and they wanted to buy a mid-century modern home. It was architecture that influenced it. How fascinating, right? I don't think I've ever heard about that before. Like, I really want an MCM home. And so why are people buying? I think that's the thing to obsess over. That identifies who you'll be working with in the future. Okay, and then the last thing I'd say, watch the gap between listings and pendings. We have this really strange market right now. If that gap keeps closing, it just makes things more competitive, which is probably the last thing that we'd want for in terms of health, but it is what it is. Okay, really last thing I'd say, be generous and authentic. I always end with that. It is so attractive to work with people who put the interests of others above themselves. Okay, I love when I don't smell any agenda. I could brag on Doug real quick there. I'm on Doug's list. Okay, now I don't mention this because I don't want to be on 100 other people's lists, but Doug, during the pandemic, you know what he did? He was showing up at my house and he gave me like a book and he was like, I'm on his like Brian Buffini drip system. And it's totally cool. You know why? Because I know that Doug cares about me. Okay, right? We're friends, and we've built a relationship. It's weird when a loan officer recently DM'd me and was like, "Hey, we should do business." I'm like, "Who are you? I don't even know your name." And so it's all about relationship in this market. So that's that. I hope that was helpful. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'll stick around if anyone wants to talk shop, but I hope that you have some perspective to at least share, maybe some people to, some things to focus on with business, and hopefully it doesn't get too awkward with people, especially talk about what they're doing, working at home. So thanks, guys.